by saying good afternoon to some, good morning to others. My name is Antoine Thompson, CEO and Executive Director for Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition. We cover DC, Northern Virginia, parts of Maryland, all the way to Baltimore. So I am so excited to be with you today, and we have a very amazing group of panelists and speakers today. This month is February, so in honor of Black History Month, we have some very dynamic individuals. Some you, many you probably have heard of, and we're just so honored that they could be anywhere else, but they have chosen to be with us today. I want to just take care of some housekeeping items first. If you are not a member of the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition, we would love for you to become a member. You can join today. If you have not paid your dues yet, you can renew your membership right now. I love to get some folks to do that. Also, you can make a charitable donation. We are a 501c3 organization, so you can donate today as well. We love donation, all sides, from $1 on up to $1 million or more. So you can contribute right now. The other few quick announcements. We do have a green procurement working group where we meet quarterly to talk about hear from different people in the industry and try to work with some of the purchasing leaders, procurement officials, not only in transportation, but in office products and building products as well. So that will take place on March 5th, 11 a.m. To noon, and you can see that in the chat as well. We also have coming up an EV 101 webinar as well. We have a biodiesel event coming up. I don't see a biodiesel and propane webinar coming up in March, but I don't see that on here. I will find that before we end the program today. We also have coming up as well the Ron Flowers annual scholarship golf outing, which Kameale Bus and Truck Center has won the last 2 years. So we need to see if you are going to challenge this title. And they've won the last 2 years. I don't know where they get all these folks, but it's been really good. So this year, it'll be June 27th at Oak Creek Golf Club in Upper Marlboro. It's in Maryland. I think it's in Upper Marlboro as well. And so look forward to that. So you can register today. You can be a sponsor. We actually have a golf clinic for that as well. So if you're an inexperienced golfer like myself, you can be in the golf clinic too. But we have a number of other things coming up for Earth Day, for Drive Electric Week this year. But big things this coming month. Look forward to our biodiesel and propane forum that we're doing as well. So without further ado, I want to get started and introduce, because we made sure this forum went a little longer today because we have some great folks. We had a nice, juicy, and engaging conversation. All right. So first, I want to mention Korey Neal, who's president of Kameale Bus and Truck Center. He's also a board member for our organization. His company is a full service commercial truck and bus dealership representing a number of bus companies, including Cummins, IC Bus Service, etc. The dealership operates from 6 locations throughout the Mid-Atlantic region as well. And he is ranked number 7 for minority businesses by the Washington Business Journal, ranked 35 in the top 100 minority business in the nation by Black Enterprise, and on and on and on. Is doing a number of good projects, but you'll hear from him today. We have Hosea Haywood III, owner of Computerized Auto Search. The owner of a Computerized Auto Search is a trusted licensed automobile dealer. He is now in the EV charging and EV electric vehicle sales business. So really happy for him as well. And he hails from their team just won the Super Bowl again, Kansas City. So congratulations. Our Denise Everson, founder, E3 Communications. She's also a GWRCCC board member as well. She directs human capital at ThinkBox, where she leads the Sustainable Communities Project, an expert in community engagement as well, and helping under-resourced communities to further their entrepreneurship, amplify STEAM education. And she's been involved with the DC, Connecticut Green Bank, and a number of others, helping to get green capital for green development projects and transportation projects. I love it. We also have with us Sade Dennis, director of the Maryland National Capital Region and Virginia Communities for Market Transformation and Development with the U.S. Green Building Council. Sade has played a pivotal role in spearheading the 2023 Greenbuilt International Conference and Expo Host Committee, where she led the Legacy Project with partners and other stakeholders. Her innovation and leadership extended to envisioning the Prince George's County delegation of elected officials and municipal leaders to Greenbuilt as well. And she's a very community-minded person with an extensive background in nonprofit and public sector experience. Last but not least, the Kameale C. Terry, CEO of ChargerHelp, the ones that keep those chargers working. Oh my God. Kameale Terry is an accomplished leader focusing on environmental sustainability and community engagement. With a decade of experience in clean tech, she co-founded ChargerHelp to create a reliable electric vehicle charging infrastructure using data-driven maintenance and repair services. She previously was director of programs at EV Connect. So let's put our hands together for this esteemed panel we had here. All right. Yes. So we're going to get right into it. Again, we've got some good folks. I want to give them an opportunity, each of them, to share a little bit about their narrative and how they got here. And we'll start with Korey, second generation businessman, growing $100 million company. We're going to make sure, we're going to proclaim today that we're going to help Korey become a $1 billion company, right? We want him to become a $1 billion company. Every time I see him, I tell him we're going to make sure he becomes a $1 billion company. Korey, the floor is yours.
Well, look, man, when you set the table like that, I gotta eat. So, but I do appreciate the opportunity, and just thank you everybody for being a part of this today with us. First and foremost, I'm a second generation business owner. Kameale Truck and Bus Center. We're located here in the Washington metropolitan area. We have 6 locations that'll serve us all the way through the Carolinas and all the way up to the Pennsylvanias. It's an incredible opportunity that we have. Our model is a dealership franchise model, which many people are probably familiar with how they buy their personal cars. We just sell everything that gets in the way on the road. So 18-wheelers, box trucks, as well as dump trucks. We sell about 50% of the school buses in the state of Maryland, as well as we have the GSA contract throughout the United States. So we'll sprinkle another couple few hundred school buses throughout the United States in that fashion. So, we're pretty fortunate from the standpoint as we're in Black History Month. I think it's pertinent to say that there are only 2 minority-owned commercial vehicle dealers in the United States. To give some perspective, there's over 2,100 rooftops, and there's, let's call it 20 under, control of African Americans. So it is important, and we do understand the opportunity that we have. At our company, we believe in excellence. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are, how you are, as long as you come here and you strive for excellence, you understand the idea of taking care of the customer, taking care of the associates, and then giving back to the community. And that served us well. As we talked, as Antoine talked a little earlier, we are a growing company. We do look to grow. Obviously, I've been given an incredible platform with, a lot of tutelage, and I stand on a lot of shoulders of people that have come before me. So, we do have great aspirations that, we are currently in plan to continue to grow our business. One of those ways in which we are doing that is through a great deal of diversification through electrification. Say that twice, diversification through electrification, especially. I think I'm actually going to start using that more often. But nonetheless, this past year, I think we delivered about 50 electric units within the Washington region. Next year, our plan is to double that. And we just continue to be there to meet our customers where they are at in the alternate fuel journey. As myself and as I talk to my staff and my organization, we're here to provide our customers what they need. And that's not only a product, but that's also an education from consulting to routing to telematics and all the different intricacies that come around transportation. Last but not least, before I hand the mic over, I think it's important to understand what transportation really is. One of the things that we all experienced through COVID, right? And COVID's not over, but that phase of heightened COVID was how important transportation is. And transportation is the backbone of this country. At the end of the day, every single room or house that we're all in, everything got there via truck at some point. And unless you're an anomaly, everybody got on a school bus at some point in their life, whether it's field trip or just going round robin every single day. So we believe that, hey, we sell the products that move people and product around the world, and you think about it like that. That's what transportation is. And I am truly happy to play the small part in the ecosystem, and so is the staff here at Kameale. So thank you, and look forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, and keep working hard. I know it is not easy. Being in the tight industry with low margins, and it's very competitive, and that's transitioning right now. So we'll come back to you on that as well. Next, I want to go to Kameale Terry.
Thank you so much for having me. As stated earlier, I started a company back in 2020 due to a need that my co-founder and I saw around the deployment of electric vehicle charging stations. So something that a lot of folks may not know is that, electric vehicle charging stations, they are just massive computers. And as we think about the future of transportation, a lot of things then become battery management systems, software, and a battery. And so a lot of the types of issues that we're going to start seeing and that we see today really is around software issues. And so my co-founder and I, when we started this company, we wanted to address that, through mass data aggregation. So we aggregate data all across the United States in regards to how people fix these charging stations. But then the second thing that we wanted to do was to lay a framework to allow for everyone to be able to participate in a meaningful way. So we worked with the federal government in order to create a Department of Labor ONET code that established something called an EVSE technician and allowed for that job to be a minimum pay of $30 an hour. And then we've been working with SAE International to create the first ever EVSE technician certification. And so, it's been an amazing journey. Super excited to talk about the ways in which we see driving, equity and the opportunity for folks to participate more in a macro level, as we continue to build out our startup. So thank you so much for y'all's time, and looking forward to participate.
Awesome. Trailblazing. You're blazing the trail. That's amazing. You are warm my heart. Next, we're going to go to Hosea Haywood III from Kansas City.
Good afternoon,
Got
all.
to mention Kameale's out of California, so we are coast to coast today.
Literally, we are coast to coast. First of all, I want to say thank God, give God all the glory for bringing us all here today. And I like to say thank you for Mr. Thompson and his organization. This platform is such a coveted opportunity. And what brings me to this EV sphere is that, I've been a car dealer for 36 years here in Kansas City, Missouri. Type of vehicles we buy are late model, current year pre-owned vehicles that have, most of them are still on the MSO and the MCO. So we're not selling any junk or anything. But to get right do it in terms of electric vehicle. It all started with a premonition back in 2012. I knew that one day the electric vehicles would resurface again, as they did in the 1830s to the 1880s. And I also recall that General Motors had one that came out in 1996, EV1. So just being not your typical car dealer, I wanted to do something that would distinguish me from my peers and colleagues. And so I enrolled into at that time it was called Kansas City Power and Light. It's now called Evergy. It was the energy source, energy provider here in Kansas City. Out of several hundred applicants, I was the only one that submitted an application for their Light Source mentoring program, learn all there was about electric vehicles from an energy provider's perspective. I had the automotive prowess, being a dealer for nearly 3 decades. So that was the missing link for me to really launch my plan to take this to another level. And so after participating in the program 3 years, learning from the feet of the master, all the ABCs of charging stations, the different levels, efficiency of them, it prepared me to learn more about the electric vehicles. So when I'm trying to sell these vehicles and before I buy these vehicles, I have all the knowledge that I need. And then the vehicles will also convey another message to you as well. So I started to buy electric vehicles when I didn't have the capital to buy them. I would go out and rent them and allow customers to come up to my dealership, touch, feel, get the full effect. In other words, would have a functional display, which is a very effective form of marketing. And so with that in mind, it started to garner a lot of attention. And from that point on, we start tapping all of the amenities of the urban core, such as the schools, the churches, the hospitals, you name it, the small businesses, the large businesses, the municipalities, our political leaders. We tap every source. So we were having like real heated discussions in barbershops and beauty shops, exchanging ad hominems about demystifying all the myths that comes with buying, owning, and having the awareness of electric vehicles. And people say, man, am I going to drive from home and get stuck? I can't get back to. I said, well, it will happen if your vehicle's not charged, and so it's just like it's the same thing that they have in a gas vehicle. And they would say, okay, what about the health benefits? We would say things like, well, it's not a paramedic, so it is a vehicle. But if all of us take the time to start buying one vehicle at a time, then it will help noise. It will alleviate pollution. And those are the things that we want to bring to the urban core. Particularly in Kansas City, because that's where we live, work, and play. So one of the unique things about my dealership, it used to be a Ford dealership, and I'm in that building now. And the location of it is a stone throw from 2 major universities in Kansas City, the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and Rockhurst University. Moreover, we are in that same vicinity of the National Research Institute, Stowers, and we're also adjacent to the Kansas City Country Club Plaza, which is a 1 million square foot upscale residential dining and shopping area. So being in the urban core, we are right there. The good thing is we bring all demographics together because they have to come when coming into that plaza, the UMKC Rockhurst area, bypassing my dealership. And so when they see vehicles out there, charging stations, we're doing live radio shows there, it garners attention. It brings them to the area and we start to talk. And that's how we bring it all together, start trying to assemble this thing. In addition to our showroom that we use for displaying vehicles, we also use it as a center for educating the community on the awareness, the benefits of the awareness and ownership of electric vehicles. We've had the pleasure of selling to nonprofit organizations, school districts, buying a lot of their fleet vehicles. We've electrified so many organizations here in Kansas City. We're not done yet. I mean, we're just getting started, and I believe that the best is yet to come. We're going, in addition to doing that, I wanted to have some other things that augment the products of the vehicle. So I became a distributor of the electric charging stations. So we're putting it all together. We have the knowledge, we have the vehicles, we have the charging stations, and now we're just trying to find more effective ways to bring in more customers to get them more involved in making their community a greener, healthier, viable community.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna come back to that. We can't let that go by lightly, that you too are helping to sell those not only on your lot, but online as well. We'll come back to that because that's really important. Next, we'll go to our Denise Everson. And I don't know, are you in Georgia? I mean, she's international herself. I don't even know if she's in the United States.
I am currently in the United States. Good afternoon, good morning for some who are joining us from the West Coast. I am R. Denise Everson. I am a board member of the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition, and I too employ those who are not members to join. So public service announcement out of the way. I would like to just briefly discuss how important it is that we are in this space at this time and the viability of pursuing clean energy employment opportunities and entrepreneurship opportunities and investing and supporting businesses like Kameale and Mr. Haywood. So, and becoming advocates like our good friend Sade, who will speak later, and also being community advocates like Kameale. So I am a community engagement strategist. I'm a founder of a company called E3 Connections, been around since 2018. I am from Decatur, Georgia, been in the DC area for almost 20 years. And one of the things that I'm most proud of recently, last year, I was afforded the opportunity to represent the United States through the State Department as a member of the delegation to a United Nations event in Kenya. So there's a United Nations Habitat group that handles urban settlements throughout the globe. And being in that U.S. seat for the time that I was there advising our delegates on policy and experiences that I uniquely can bring was one of the joys of my life. And I've been involved with the United Nations activities since 2016. So I wanted to say, just be grateful that the time is now and that we're able to fill these seats and to create these companies and to meet the needs that are present. So I am looking forward to all of the questions that you all have in the comments that are coming. And I look forward to the discussion with my fellow panelists. Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, someone with a name I like, Sade.
Hey, that's what I'm talking
I
about.
used to listen to the Sade's, not you, the other Sade, all
I'll
the
still
time.
take it. I'll take it anyhow. I'll still take it.
All right. Sade, Dennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, fellow advocates for environmental equity. I am Sade Dennis, the Director of Market Transformation and Development for the U.S. Green Building Council for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. We are the global leader in green building. You may have heard a little something about LEED certified buildings. That's us. We just celebrated our 30 years in 2023 and look forward to 30 plus years to come. It is indeed an honor to be before you today during the significant Black History Month event. Thank you again, Mr. Thompson, for inviting me to speak on this wonderful panel with these esteemed leaders who do transformational work every day to ensure that we all have access to resilient communities. I came to the world of sustainability through my work in the public sector. To be exact, where I did community and stakeholder engagement at the Office of State's Attorney for Prince George's County. But before then, in nonprofit consulting, branding, and communications with a focus on mission critical work. So, it's not really a huge transition, but a transition nevertheless. But I always like to share that I am in the people business. So the work continues here at the built environment. Thank you. I look forward to, of course, our discussion and any questions to come.
Nice, nice. We're gonna get right into it. First, any folks that have any questions for them, we're gonna put it in the chat. I want to start with Korey. I'll go to you, and I'm going to swing over to Kameale, because you all have a very interesting. All of you have an interesting role in this, but I'm going to jump at go to Korey and Kameale right now. Korey, you're a second generation owner. How's that feel? A lot of pressure. You got a lot of people work for you. I don't think you mentioned like how many people are on the payroll. I know you got a big team. You got multiple locations. Supply inventory is tight in the country. The market is transitioning. How's that feel to be a leader in a space where there's only two people like you that own businesses? You're not you're the boss, right? In an industry where there's only two CEOs like yourself. How's that feel?
Hey, it's a great deal of responsibility, right? And it's not something that we take lightly. The good thing about it is I've had an example in my father the whole way. And that's not something that I take for granted because, especially in our community, 50% of young African-American males don't have a fatherly presence. So for me to have that person, growing up as well as, today still, adequately, my number one fan, right? My dad is my number one fan. He is my champion in everything that we do in this organization. So with that, it's a lot. I can tell you, the magnitude is very high. Mistakes are not allowed. And it's one of those things that, I understand that if we don't take care of what we have, if we aren't better than, the average every single day, then we won't exist. Just plain and simple, cost barriers to get in this industry. When you talk about equipment, when you have to have lines of credits of hundreds of $1 million, when you have to bond up to $500 million and all those type of intricacies, we have to have parts inventory of, $20 million amongst, we're here, right? And we're here. And so now that we're here, what are we doing with the time that we're here? So it's one of those things. And I speak about this often to people is, I was built for this, right? And I tell people this all the time. When I was a kid and my father, who had, a 25-year career in Giant Food, which is a $6 billion company here located in the Washington metropolitan area, I left as the acting COO, $6 billion in revenue, 30,000 people. Every single day when I was in the car with him, he would make me listen to his phone conversations, right? As soon as he would get off the phone with somebody, he would ask me the question, hey, what did I talk about? What did I say? What did I do? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? So, being an athlete, and being in the car with my father, we were intentful about this. There was intent in everything that we did. So, we're here. I don't think him and I are surprised. That doesn't mean that we're not grateful. That doesn't mean that we're not humble. But, we understand that if we put the work in naturally every single day, the law of time, will prevail. And that's kind of how we wake up every single day and get after this.
I like that. We're going to come back to that. Mentorship is very important. And that comes from all different people. I'll come back to that next. I want to go to Kameale. You two are you're in an industry that's rapidly exploding. People are trying to figure out these chargers, and you are beginning to kind of corner a marketplace there. And how have we been able to do that? I know it's not easy. what drives you every day, and how have you been able to stay around? 4 years is a long time in business, okay? For those who started little home-based businesses and all type of businesses, we can't take it for granted, because you got a payroll too, right? I mean, you got people that's working for you depending on to keep their lights on, pay the mortgage and the rent, send their kids to school. So what's driving you, and what's been that secret sauce to keep you motivated? In a market where there are not too many people like you that have taken on that mantle of trying to fix chargers. A lot of people trying to sell them, but a lot of people don't want the responsibility of fixing them.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And it's something I think about often. When I first started this company, the thing that really frustrated me the most was that today, at any given time, you can find up to 30% of our existing charging infrastructure inoperable. And I want to sit in that number. That is 30% of charging stations. And the question that came to me is like, where typically are those stations located? One. And then two, for folks like myself, where unfortunately I don't own a home yet, right? So I can't rely on home charging. I rely on public charging. How is that impacting, folks in communities like mine? And so that's the thing that continues to drive me. Like, one, there is an issue that is impacting everyone. And these are, typically infrastructure that is deployed through taxpayer dollars. So to imagine that our money is being, put into companies that's deploying infrastructure that folks aren't taking care of it, like that was very frustrating to me. And then to also think how important it is for us to have a cleaner fueling source, because folks from communities such as mine are impacted by bad air quality at a more significant rate. My mom passed away from lung cancer. My co-founders, both of her parents passed away from lung-related diseases, and we live between South Central Los Angeles and Compton. So we're saying, okay, there's this problem. We're supposed to solve it with electric vehicles. We're getting capital to do it, but then the infrastructure we're deploying isn't working. And so that is the thing that continues to drive me. We believe that we have the best solution in regards to how do we analyze and understand the assets that we're deploying? And then also, how do we equip the right talent, right, to be a part of the jobs of the future? And so as I continue to pull apart how to do that in the best way, I feel very privileged and honored and blessed to continue to figure that out, right? And to continue to go forward. The last thing I'll say, my dad started his own company when he was 22 as well. And that company put 3 kids through college, and it allowed me to be the entrepreneur that I am today. So I stand on shoulders of those that have come before me, and don't take, the advantages that I have for granted. My dad was not a venture-backed company. He was a bootstrap company, right? So I don't take any of that for granted. And it just makes sure that we continue to drive a company that is profitable, has good margins, and that will have a lasting impact on this country.
That's very inspiring. I wanna go give each of you a chance to answer this question. Many of you talked about mentorship. If each of you can talk about 1 or 2 people that have inspired you, or have either directly or indirectly served as your mentor along your journey, because each of you are doing amazing things, working with national corporate clients and people from all different walks of life. So I'd love to find out from each of you who's kind of been your mentors along this journey. I want to start with Denise.
Such a great question, Antoine. So I have 2 that I want to amplify today. From a professional standpoint, there is an architect named Kathy Dorgan, who for many years now has made sure that I'm in the right places at the right times, doing the right things. She's provided housing when I needed housing to do certain projects out of state. She's provided the push and the nudge when I didn't want to be the only Black person in a room. And she has just encouraged me to be the best version of me. So Kathy Dorgan, older white lady who took some time to think it not robbery to make sure that I succeeded. My second person is, it's a couple. So my godparents, Jeannie Hisman Lee and Dr. Barry E. Lee, they are in near the Stone Mountain area in Georgia. They took the time from fourth grade on to make sure that where they could support, they did support. Whether that was showing up at poetry events that I won first place in, by the way, to taking me on college tours or paying for me to go to college tours, to taking me to Hampton, to taking me to Georgetown, to making sure that when I said I wanted to do a program at Yale, saying, okay, what can we do to help? So they have been instrumental in the development of my personal womanhood, making sure that I was supported on every leaning side and undergirding me from the time I was a little girl until now. So it's those type of people that take time out of their lives to invest in the lives of others who, during this Black History Month, as we are these Black leaders having national and international impact, it's those type of people that I think about. And all of our champions and advocates are not always Black, but we are. And so it's incumbent upon us to do like they did to a degree, not pay back, but pay forward. And I think of all of the lives that we collectively are going to touch because we have had people that have invested in us.
All right, Jose, who are you to, you're in the industry, clean energy, clean transportation. You're especially now with you trying to sell electric cars. What's inspired you and who's been your mentor?
As they say, the African proverb is it takes a village to raise a child. And for me, that is a very strong metaphor, if you will. It's my family. I mean, it really is my family because everything I do it for a means of being a strong provider for my wife and my two daughters and my two grandchildren. The person that inspires me is my mother. She was murdered, and I have some tools that were left behind, such as a T-shirt I carried everywhere I go, and it's a green T-shirt, and it had her essence in it. Ironically, we were living in Los Angeles at the time when she was murdered in 1982. I carried that T-shirt with me everywhere I go because it had her essence in it. And I also have a letter that she had written me that I never did have an opportunity to read until later on in life. It was given to me by my aunt, her sister. While I'm reading that letter, I'm hearing her voice, seeing her face, and all of the things that she would try to instill in me about the man who thinks he can, reading the poems of The Lion and the Gazelle. It's just everything, about her. And I often, I, I'm gonna switch gears because I'm just thinking about her now. These are tears of joy. And I mean, I let me just stop right there on that part. But and then the thing she instilled about being a family man and being a provider. So that would have to start with my wife, my wife, because she gets to see me in the side in a capacity no one else have an opportunity to see me in. And we have those talks. I mean, pillow talks come in other ways. We talk about life as well. So those are the things that keep me motivated, knowing that I have unwavering partner with me that's what they say, a ride or die. And that is my ride or die. And nowadays, I have a daughter who's also an entrepreneur, has a business. She's a Spelman undergrad. She has two masters, one from Northwestern in Chicago, and the other one's from in Atlanta. And she has now become a quasi consultant to me. All the mentoring I did to her, now I call upon her to ask her for advice on certain things, but she has that fresh mind. And so we keep trying. I would do to her what Brother Neal said his dad did to him. I mean, I would make her repeat things. When other kids were out playing, I made sure she had to come in and she would ride with me to boring meetings and stuff like that. And I taught her all the things there is to know about how to detect if a vehicle's been in an accident, the things to look for, and how to be meticulous and all the things, the paperwork, you name it. But from a business perspective, and I'll say this very succinctly, it has to be with people like the gentleman that owns Gates Barbecue, Mr. Ollie Gates, Donald Maxwell, the gentleman that's the CDC president, the Community Development Corporation. There's just so many others. Congressman Cleaver was an avid supporter buying vehicles from me. So many people have done a lot of things. Valerie Coyatso with Supplier and Diversity, and Chuck Paisley, the Senior Vice President. These are the people that I stay in constant contact with me, that are constantly pushing me. My lawyer, Herb Hardwick. There's just so many people that had an influence on me to making sure that we're doing everything by the book and doing it the right way. So that's where I am. You know, I mean, I have some of the best mentors there are, but mainly the one that I give, if I had to give they do on the show, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, I had to give someone a red rose, would be my wife.
All right. All right. All right. Well, my wife's on too. I'm gonna make sure I give her another red rose. I gave her some beautiful ones for Valentine's, I might say. Anyway. All right. Korey, I know your dad is probably one of your mentors. Anyone else you want to recognize?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here listening, and there's this common theme of people that are close to you that make an impact on you. And I've just been super fortunate. Being an athlete, there's a lot of coaches. Being a professional, I have mentors, I have coaches, I have people that I go have lunch with every single month, just to kind of get in their time and their presence. And I'm intentful with that time, and I'm happy that they give me that time. I think. I'm going to actually answer this question a different way and say, it's one thing to have a mentor, but as a mentee, right? And that's what I would consider myself. You have to make sure that, you're getting out of it what you need. And, a lot of times, people that are in the mentor position, they kind of either pass their time or they just want to give their knowledge. So I don't, when I have time with people, I take it seriously. I appreciate them. I heed their advice. They help me speed my learning curve. But if I could just say, hey, who's that person, other than my family, it's probably my mother, right? I mean, you're just, somebody that, sacrificed their life for me, being a father and having a wife and understanding childbirth. I mean, hell, it's just it's a radical thing to even, to kind of encompass that. I've just been so blessed, and I could take the next 12, 15 minutes here and just rattle off people that have been impactful. But to all of them, just thank you very much.
All right, Kameale, who have been some of your mentors, especially in this industry and along your journey? You're blazing the trail, and we never get there by ourselves, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I know I have a great network of like mentors and coaches. And so probably added something different. Like every time I've gone about trying to achieve something, I always have a coach, and paying for a coach and having someone that has, either the experience that I am currently about to experience, or there's something very particular that I want to work on. So, and my prior company is starting, like I really wanted to get better at like negotiating and being able to, I'm very young. So being able to like stand on 10 toes in rooms where I am the youngest, but still have a valuable opinion. So having a coach that helped me with that. And then now, as a leader, we have about 44 folks that work at our company, and I have a SVP group of about 5 individuals. And so now my coach is all about, how do I coach leaders, right? And like, what does that look like? And how do I balance running a company with all the ups and downs that comes with that, and still be a great coach to the folks on my team? So yeah, I would just want to highlight, taking the time to invest in finding, a coach that can help you through very particular challenges that you may be facing, as a leader.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, my computer was all over the place. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So I want to get into the next part of the conversation is how I want to give each of you a chance to respond to this. Well, I'm going to do some round robin on this. So I'll call on only 2 people at a time. So I want to go to Korey, then I'll swing over to Denise. One of the big things right now is Kameale was talked about this a little earlier, which is something that wakes me up every day as well, is the fact that we have these asthma and other respiratory related illnesses that disproportionately impact Black people in the United States. And it really does not get enough front page news, whether it's in the mainstream media or the Black media, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. And how do you see your role in really helping to address some of that from a business perspective or a nonprofit perspective? Each of you, I'm sure you all care about it. You all are in critical roles on trying. Buildings have, can kill you, and so can the air outside those buildings kill you. So why don't we go to Korey, come over to Sade.
Yeah. Right. When you talk about it, it's disheartening, right? Because it's a real thing. And, you have African-American communities, you have, transparently all underserved communities are affected by this. I think from our standpoint, what is our best way of attacking it? I go to kids, right? Because at the end of the day, foundational, you'll see that many health studies show that, when things don't start right, they don't finish right, right? Whether that's, whether that's school, whether that's health, whether that is, appetite, it's really foundational when you're young. So, when I think about the impact we can have, we sell school buses, right? We just delivered 25, buses to Baltimore City. And everybody knows, kind of the trials and tribulations and the ups and downs that Baltimore City has had over its course of being Baltimore. So, putting clean electric vehicles in Baltimore is helpful, right? Now, let me be transparent. I'm not moving the needle a lot by putting 25 buses in Baltimore City, but it is a start, right? Because at the end of the day, getting that type of technology into the city is a pathway forward for the next generation. And, I think it's those things. Also, I think it's, my job is to be an employer, right? At the end of the day, being in the commercial transportation industry is not an industry where you have to be, suited and booted from a standpoint of education. I did it, but you don't have to do it. So understanding that, giving kids a path so that they can make choices, right? They can, come to Kameale and say, hey, I got a charger at my house that I need you or to come and fix, right? So that they can actually live out that dream that they see, but they need good jobs, right? So at the end of the day, hey, let's give them to school in a clean vehicle so they're not, in that, realm of, call it fumes. And then, hey, let's make sure that they're employed so that, one, they don't fall into different obstacles that they shouldn't be into because they're busy and they're vibrant. And 2, let's have them work very hard, right? Make a great living and support this ecosystem so that we can kind of support each other. So,
I want to just share with you that, how many seats are on those buses?
54.
That's a lot of kids. I mean, you may not, that's almost, depending on what neighborhood, that's almost a school building worth of kids, yeah. Right? And so that is an impact, because you're saving lives by making sure those kids are reducing the chance of them riding on that a diesel powered bus a couple hours a day, and the air on that bus is worse than the air behind that bus. So I just wanted to commend
Yeah,
you
absolutely. I
that
appreciate
you
it.
do 50 times 25. That's a lot of kids, okay? And I know a lot of friends that have charter schools and public schools that they manage that would love to have 500 of their kids running on clean school buses. I just wanted to commend you on that.
Thank
And
you.
don't undervalue that impact that you're having. So I wanted to share that. Sade, I apologize for not allowing you to mentor your mentors. So can you share your mentors? And I know you are riled up, fired up, motivated
Of course.
about trying to save the community. So
Hey,
share with us your mentors and
absolutely.
how you see your role in this space of making a difference.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Mentorship is so big, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Have been mentored by uh, two people, namely collectively my parents, who believe that education is a lifelong responsibility, and my father, who was an entrepreneur, although he worked, to take care of his family at a job. However, if he had a dollar for every business he started, he'd be a millionaire. This is how impactful. So I did things like, inventory and duplicates and what have you. He had all kinds of business where he shipped cars to Nigeria, where he sold Ray-Ban sunglasses to, incubators. He shipped them to Nigeria. So I mean, that's just in my blood. My mother, again, lifetime learner, who to this day still really impactful to me. And also Gatsby Brown. Gatsby Brown is the CEO of the Gatsby Consultants, Consulting to Philanthropy, as well as No Permission Needed. And she's an artist like myself. In fact, she was one of the ones to really encourage me to pursue my art and voiceovers. I always say that I want to be like her, and I still do. And not only did she mentor me, she also sponsored me, and she deployed me, and she employed me. And so she's just unselfish and very generous in her time and her resources, and it's been very impactful. Doris McMillan is another mentor of mine, and I could go on. Doris showed me by way of just spending time sharing with me emceeing skills and her speaking skills and her being a CEO in a space where it is not Black dominated. And so just being out there and having the privilege of knowing these women, of course, my parents, but buildings and how I find myself in this space. We spend a lot of our time in buildings. Most of our formidable time is in buildings. We are born in a building, we get married in a building, we live in buildings. And so we do everything in buildings. And buildings account for about 40% of, quite frankly, the bad stuff. But what we here at USGBC, we want to be a solution. And so we are excited to continue to be leaders in the built environment, providing a way for people to be healthy in the built environment and how to interact in that space. So outdoors, indoors, and of course to include human health vitality for all. It's exciting to be able to use all of my skill sets and be me in this space. And so I continue to be excited and grateful for the opportunity. Can't hear you.
Right back. I want to come over to Kameale. I wanted to, if you can, trying to you've been able to break through in an industry that is really lacking diversity, right? What advice would you give to people that are watching that that want to know how they can make it? I mean, I'm sure there are days that you think about, geez, just a lot of work. It'd be easier, go back working for somebody, or this or that, or I'm sure they're with they call micro, and I'm gonna come back to my next question to everyone. But how do you what helps you keep plugging along from that perspective when you get discouraged, and you've been able to win some federal grants, some competitive grants, right? Be on some good teams. You're often sought after now. I know how it probably wasn't always that way, right? Right? How's that? How do you do that, and how do you keep pushing on that as well?
I think besides being really obsessed with, the solution that we've created, I think that the way that, yeah, I've kept pushing is what I chatted about earlier, is just like really wanting to make an impact for the problem. But my advice for folks that want to get into this space is that, one, understanding that so much of the business is about networking. And so, some of the places to get plugged in at, if you're not plugged in with AID, get plugged in with AID, clearly get a membership here. Other organizations, Elemental Accelerator, the LA Clean Tech Incubator, Grid 110, like there's a lot. I would just, like, when I first got into this space, Google is my best friend. I Google everything. And so I would Google, like climate accelerators. I would try to go to different like happy hours, like really trying to build and find good relationships has been one of the things that has, I think, been the most impactful thing that I could have ever done, because you can really find your people. And then when you find the people that understand your passion and understand what you're trying to build, and there's authenticity there, it actually makes so much more things so much easier, which is fascinating, And the last thing that I'll say, or last plug I'll give, another great thing to do is to really use like Eventbrite, to find different, free events that are coming up to really start building out your network that way. And then definitely LinkedIn. I wish that there was an opportunity to make money off of being a LinkedIn influencer, because I really do think that I'm a LinkedIn influencer, but there's no way to make money off of it. But LinkedIn is another great resource of like having your picture updated. I always share like my thoughts on different things in the industry, like really figuring out a way to put yourself out there as an industry expert, has also been very helpful to me.
All right. In a couple of minutes, I'll give people a chance to, you can put in a chat. I may open it up for a quick minute for folks. But I want to go to Denise. You want to chime in on that?
Advice? Was that the question?
Yeah, just advice on, you have a lot of corporate, have a lot of corporate clients, right? I think you told me you were doing some big work for Google or some Fortune 100 company recently. That's not easy, right? How do you stay encouraged, when it's you're doing especially untraditional work as well, or you got a mainstream client too?
So, Antoine, that's such a great question. So, Neal mentioned something earlier about excellence. I strive for excellence to be my brand. So when people think about a solution, they think about me. And then we can figure out the details of how I can provide that solution. But when you're in a situation, you're thinking, I have an issue. It's complex, it's complicated, and I need someone to provide or help me find a solution. I always like to be thought of as that solution. So not being afraid, number one, not being afraid to be the difference. It's okay to be the difference. Sometimes you are the difference. Number two, not being scared off by age. So, Kameale, one thing about you and I don't know each other that well yet, and I hope that we can get to that point, but boy, am I proud of you. As someone who is looking at what you're doing, I'm so proud that you're not scared to say yes, and you're not scared to fail. You're not scared to succeed. Many times we're scared to succeed. The failure is not the issue per se. It's the success that scares us. So I applaud all of us who are in these places where, as Sade mentioned, we can bring our authentic self. So that's number three. So bring your authentic selves to all of these spaces. When I'm in Nairobi, I bring my authentic self. When I'm in Decatur, I bring my authentic self. When I'm in meetings, I bring my authentic self, because I am the difference between not succeeding and succeeding for many companies, for many corporations, for many entities, and for individuals. So those three things I think are very critical to moving forward and becoming a history maker in this space.
Nice, nice. I see, I'm gonna go to Dr. Gloria really quick. Dr. Gloria, you had a quick question, or did you actually have your hand up? Okay, she must have just accidentally had her hand up. So I wanted to ask, I'm gonna swing over to Korey really quick, and then Sade and Hosea. I'll let you all answer this really quick as well. How do you all, all of you are in the industry, clean energy, clean transportation. You know, Black people are very limited in terms of our presence, and more often than not, you're going to be in meetings where you are going to either be one of a few or the only one. And I say this in the context of Oprah Winfrey going shopping over in Europe, and they thought, what was she doing in the store? And she was Oprah, and she was a billionaire. I say in the context of Bob Johnson, he's the former owner of BET, who owns hotels and happened to not be at his hotel, but at someone else's hotel. And he was standing outside and they thought he was the bellhop. How do you overcome the perceptions and the what they call microaggressions that happen, that people assume that you're supposed to only do certain things, and or that you may not be fit for certain things beyond typical ways? How have you all been able to excel without exhaling in the same breath at the inappropriate time?
You know, I think it's a real question to ask, right? Because I think it's something that, wherever level of success you are at, you feel that, it is what it is. I would just say that for me, I'm aware, and I know my purpose, right? So I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware of where people are at. I'm aware of people's probably perceived perception of me. I am. But at the same token, I also know my purpose. I know that I'm destined, right? I'm a man of faith. I'm grounded in that. So, nobody's going to really be able to deter me from, what my destiny is. So, for me, it's part of the process. Iron sharpens iron. Hey, everybody that doesn't understand is just another person that I can hopefully show the path in a way, and an example of who I am. It makes me double down. I have two young sons. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, right? So it's really becoming of myself to make sure that whatever I'm doing today is setting a foundation so that, their life isn't what my life had to be in some realms. So, it's one of those things that you understand. I'm aware, but I also know my purpose. I know my destiny. So I'm not going to let anything derail me from that. Plain and simple.
All right, Sade, then we'll come over to Hosea. Then we're gonna have each of you talk about green capital in the industry. How's that working out for you? And what can we do to what are some of the challenges that you all are seeing, not only for yourselves, but for others as they try to get contracts, try to grow their businesses in this clean energy and transportation space? But Sade and Hosea, if you could share your perspective on the question I already asked.
Absolutely. Well, first, I definitely want to piggyback on Korey. In my, experience, I'm in a totally different industry, even though I carry kind of the same philosophy in my work, but it's with a whole new group of people. And so, for one, that's different. People tend to be more comfortable with people who are familiar, right? So then there's that. So there were a few, I would say, hurdles, but nothing that I guess human interaction could not solve or cure. And so for me, I'm able to connect with people where they are. And that's something that I bring, to all of my work, whether it's state's attorney talking with law enforcement or residents, but here in the built environment, engineers, architects, concerned stakeholders, if you will, legislature and things. And so for me personally, I'm always listening for a way to authentically connect with folks. And so this way, it isn't that people don't see color. We are a bouquet. and it's something that I walk in. I walk in that spirit. My whole name is Bola Sade. Definition is, meaning of that name is she walks with the crown of honor, dignity. And so I take that very seriously. And I think that when we own our space that we are in, every space, whether personally or professionally, I think people have no choice other than to respond in kind. And so that is the frame of mind I come from. So I don't assume there'll be a problem. I know my background, I'm confident in who I am. And it helps to be in an environment as well who appreciates that too. So at USGBC, I'm encouraged to always bring my ideas. I'm encouraged to lead constantly. And it's just the way I'm able to be myself. And it's amazing. I'm having a great time doing it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I know it's not easy. Many of us have been there. I can tell you stories. I often tell the story. I've been in things where I've had college students or low-level staff people where people would just walk up and talk to them for half an hour. I'm the principal. But, you let people do what they got to do, and, you don't get caught up in those smaller things, but you be aware of those things and just keep it moving. Hosea, so how are you doing? And how do you overcome those challenges? I know that, you're new in the industry, and Black people are slow to the marketplace and buying those electric vehicles, and you got a challenge trying to buy them. You got a challenge trying to sell them.
Absolutely. But, we embrace the challenge. We've always would be the odd person that will go out and boldly go where others choose not to go. The biggest thing that propels me and keep me true to myself is just knowing who I am, having that confidence. No one is going to discourage me or deter me from the things that I believe in. I very briefly, I recall early on in my automotive career, they used to have in St. Louis, they used to have a Jaguar, Range Rover, and Mercedes-Benz sale. And I went up to that auction to buy a vehicle for a client. And when you walk into the auction, I'm the only only spook Black person in the whole arena. I'm here with all these other millionaire dealership owners. And one of the guys had come up to me and said, "Hey, can you go get me some coffee?" And I said, "Well, I'm not here to serve coffee, but if you see the coffee boy, tell him to bring me some, because I'm a little thirsty myself, And so when it came time to bid on the vehicles, they were all looking around and like, "Hey, someone from the auction came and said, 'Hey, can you buy? Can you buy these type of vehicles?'" And so I said, "Absolutely. If I couldn't buy them, I wouldn't be here." And so what I did, I got my banker on the phone, who was also owns several dealerships in the Kansas City area. And he got on the phone, and it was loud, and everyone in that arena heard him say, "If Hosea couldn't buy, he wouldn't be here. If you don't leave him alone, I'm gonna come and buy the whole auction, and then you'll have to talk to him." And so it's just having that confidence, that self-assurance about yourself, knowing that who you are, and to get the people to come over and to have them to mount the challenge of buying electric vehicles. It's the same process when you go into these auction arenas, whether you're doing it online or in person, trying to procure these late model high-tech vehicles. It's just, the game, you understand the industry as good as anyone. And so it never discourages me, but the challenge is once you get those vehicles from your auction to your place of business, trying to get them sold. And so the urban community is typically the last one to get the benefits, but the first to bear the problem. So we just had an effective ground game, just knocking on all the doors, our fraternities, our churches, you name it, we did it. Schools, and I said that earlier in this event, just tapping everyone in the community. Lee Iacocca said it best. What does it take to be the best? He said, you guessed it, everything. And so we get everyone involved. We get everyone involved so that they too can be a stakeholder. Get to come up and drive. We see people walking down the street on this busy corridor, so several vehicles to just people walking up and down the street, coming outside and talking to them. And hello, how you doing? Never knowing what's in their pocket, what their desire is. A lady came by one day. She said, I appreciate you saying something to me, because most of the time people think that I'm a bum, I'm homeless. Came out and I talked to her. I said, how you doing today? And she came back and bought a vehicle from me just because you're engaging in the community. And so those are the things that you do. You know, you feed the community. You let them come in. Hey, can I come in and touch one of your vehicles? Absolutely. I want you to come in. I want you to touch this vehicle. I've had so many people to come by and touch them and ask, what is a charging station? And they may not be the buyer, but they tell someone, hey, I got an aunt, I got a sister. So those are the things that's helped me overcome this. Is it's not to judge, be open to the public, engage the whole community. And once they're involved and they're engaged and they have that knowledge, they too will be part of the mission that is trying to electrify urban America. So that has been the secret sauce to our success. That is getting everyone involved, getting all the people in the community, from the top, from the highest politicians, all the way down to those who sweep the streets off of 47th and Paseo. So we get them all involved. We're not too big, we're not too small. We feel we're just right, and we are where we want to be. And the good thing is we have so many demographics that cross each other that we bring everybody in to this melting pot. And I love it. We're fired up and we're ready to go.
All right. Well, one thing I want you to know, if you don't know, if you go on Hertz, they have over 20,000 used electric vehicles they're going to be getting rid of. So they have a website. If you don't have it, let me know and I'll send it to you. But they have they're going to be selling over 20,000 of those. So make sure you get plugged in. And anyone that's listening, it's a great opportunity, because used electric vehicles are in demand, and clean energy vehicles as a whole are in demand, regardless of what fuel they are in demand. So I wanted to give each of you, I'll start with Kameale. We only have just over 10 minutes left. Ron, if you could put your comment, question in the chat. I do see you over there, sir. And I'll read it, and if I don't understand it, I'll call on you as well. Let's Kameale, and we'll start with you. I want to give each of you really quick. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? All of you are in marketplaces that are rapidly transitioning. What's the crystal ball look like for you, and how do you see that benefiting the community as well?
In 5 years for ChargerHelp, our goal is to be a company that doesn't have to take on any more venture capital, right? So a company that's taking care of itself, that has strong margins, and it is positively impacting the environment. We're also not opposed to acquisitions and things of this such, but in 5 years, we do just want to have a strong, overall company. That last, which isn't super true for a lot of technology companies these days. So yeah, that's what our goal is right now.
Well, one thing, as you mentioned earlier, that we're not going to have any shortage of chargers over the next 20 years. We're going to demand for those who continue, and they will continue to break, just like cell phone cords break, chargers break, and everything else breaks. So I think you're going to be around for a long time. All right, next we'll swing over to Korey. What's in the crystal ball on the way to $1 billion?
Yeah, I mean, 5 years. I think that puts me at, let's call it 2030. Really disciplined in every single thing that we do, right? Just really disciplined in how we get up every single day, really disciplined with our intent, working harder than anybody else is working, putting in the time, putting in the sweat equity, making a sacrifice. I'm not a huge vision board guy. I'm just every single day I'm getting better. And that's what I preach to my team. If we do the small things really well, the big things will come. So 5 years from now, the expectation I got of myself, I can't even explain it. And I'd probably be embarrassed to even, full out even, because I don't even have it written down. But I just know that you will see a level of, excellence in every single thing we do as an organization. You will see a level of hard work and dedication in every single thing we do as employees and associates of this organization. And we'll be making an impact that, we can measure, but also that, we can leave a legacy behind so that people behind us can kind of come with us going forward. So, yeah, if we can do that by 2030, I'll be happy. Right.
Sade, what's the crystal ball look like for you in 5 years?
Absolutely. Well, to continue to drastically improve the way humans interact with buildings inside and out. And I want to continue to be an impact. I always like to say here in DC, our community, it involves locals as well as like embassies and international neighbors, if you will. So I just want to continue to be of value and convene really important meetings and conversations, continue to be of service.
All right. Our Denise Everson, what's the crystal ball look like for you?
I would love to see more of us, an exponential explosion of us within the next 5 years. I think that if we can duplicate ourselves and put champions all over, I think we'll be in a better position. So that means more business owners, that means more community activists, that means more environmental advocates. So if we can figure out a way to duplicate ourselves, having people to speak up like Mr. Bethea that's on, having people who are fighting for social justice, if we could just keep up that exponential duplication of ourselves, I think we'll be in a great situation.
All right, Hosea.
I see myself in the next 5 years electrifying the city of Kansas City, Missouri, the state of Missouri, and going throughout the USA, and ultimately going abroad. I've had some international bidders to contact me on some projects. And so that's where we see ourselves. We're going to stay focused, laser focused, and stay committed to our cause, and continue to champion the detractors. And we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. And it's my hope that one day that I'm able to work here with my esteemed panel colleagues here at some point, even if it's a mere question one day, and so, and I take pride in being able to have be a dealership owner for 36 years. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. We've done a lot of great things, but the best is yet to come. And so if we can do those things, electrify our homes, our state, the USA, I think, and abroad, I think we'll be where we want to be. So we got our work cut out. So
yes, we do. Yes, we do. And on that, I'm gonna go to Sade. I know you had something else you want to add, but I want to say, last question for each of you. We have a Future Green Leaders program. We are at high schools and middle schools all the time, and really trying to do more to help reach that younger generation. Love to get some of you all with us when we go visit some of our schools. Myself, Darrell Jones, Khadijah Shaw, we are in schools all the time, talking with young people, planting that seed, trying to water that seed. So love to have you all come with us. We're going to a school, at least I think we're going to a school next within the next 2 weeks on the 15th, and then 2 the following week. And we're not there long, it's only an hour. So I want to extend that invitation to you while we go on a regular basis, talking with young people. But Sade, I wanted to say to you, to give you a chance to speak on the last question, but also for the young people, if you had a young person with you right now, what's that one thing that you would tell them on how they can do it too? Because this, a lot of young people they're not going to know all of you, all the great work that you're doing, and be able to see themselves and know that they can do it. What's that one thing, if you just had that 30-second elevator speech with that young person, what would
Yeah.
that be?
Well,
And you
you
can
said,
answer the,
sure, you said it perfectly when you said, how do you envision yourself? You know, so even before I was able to hop on a plane, I looked at things like magazines and encyclopedias. Now we have the internet, but how do you see yourself? And luckily, you know, I believe in energy, good energy, right? And so it really attracted people and opportunities in my life. And so what I like to do is always go to the highest I possibly can at that time. So if I'm working at anywhere, I'm going to go to the best that I can go to. If I'm going to go to, you know, work anywhere, I'm going to see and vet which is the best and highest opportunity I can get to, and create value there and rinse and repeat, no matter what industry that is, because you know oftentimes these opportunities are very similar. And so I want to piggyback a little bit on what our Denise mentioned as far as what I see for myself in 5 years. And for that would be to continue to be a role model, not only for myself, my children, my family, community, and the world, but also actively sponsor and give opportunities to people who look like me and don't. Because sometimes, you know, diversity looks like a variety of things. And sometimes I think to be very mindful of the surroundings that we're in, no matter what that surrounding looks like, and just to always be diligent and listen, and vet as well, because sometimes we can spend a lot of dead time in dead places. And so I think it's important that to be vital and to be of value, I think that it's incumbent upon us to be mindful of the time we spend, because I think one of our speakers mentioned it today, that time is a resource that we don't get back. And so we're going to be mindful of the time we spend. Now,
all
that is my
right.
soapbox.
Yes, yes. So Kameale, if you had that 30 seconds with a young person, what would you say to them to get them motivated, let them know about the opportunities that they have in the industry? Because they could be an architect, they could be an engineer, they could be a technician, they could be a business owner. I mean, they could be a real estate developer. I mean, there's so much in this sector of clean energy and transportation, but our young people are not always exposed to that. What would you say to them?
I would actually have them tell them to invest in like speech classes, learning how to communicate. And because the interesting thing about is I used to do speech and debate in college, and oftentimes getting into those rooms, you get really connected with other folks. It's all about like networking with the people that you have around you today. So I definitely think finding like a speech and debate class, or also looking up design thinking like workshops, like really just trying to figure out who is your equal and your peer right now, because those are the folks that are going to help you get inspired to what is a possibility.
All right, Korey.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I could just tell any young person anything today is, don't let where you are determine where you go.
Amen.
Right. It's just, whatever room you're in, whether you're here or there, just don't let where you currently are determine where you go. And that's what I always say to folks.
And Governor Moore, Westmore, the governor of Maryland, always tells young people, you belong in this room. And a lot of times people may feel that they don't belong. And I tell people that all the time. I help people get in all different type of rooms. And the first time I heard Governor Moore say that, it reminded me of how I've pushed to get people into all different type of rooms. And we do need to tell our young people, you belong in that room. Our Denise Everson.
I would say don't be afraid. So don't be afraid to go with something that you're passionate about. And if you're going to fail, fail fast. So FAIL, fail fast. Get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off, put some Neosporin on that thing and keep it moving. So fail fast. If you're going to fail, fail fast so that you can keep it moving to the next thing that you will eventually succeed in.
Amen.
That's my advice.
They said Macy's, the owners of that failed in different business ventures like 7 times or something like that. So it happens, right? It's okay. Hosea, what would you say to the young people?
One of the reasons why we tap the school district is because, and the full employment council is because we want to get to our baby boomers right now, because they are the ones who actually hold the future. They made the adoption with the cell phone, the computer, and all the TikTok and all the other social media outlets. And so they're the one that's going to grow as the electric vehicle starts to evolve. they're gonna grow into it. They're gonna grow with this concept. We didn't grow up with electric vehicles. We grew up with gas vehicles, and so this is an opportunity for them to get in in the embryonic phases of it, touch it, to see it, feel it, and drive it. For example, school kids walk past my building every day. I ask, hey, can I touch this car? Yes. And then you ask them things about it. Well, turn it on. It's already on. Oh, I didn't know. So those things like that need to happen. You have to get them more involved. And they too are a stakeholder because they are the ultimate future.
Yes, thank you. I want to just mention to my fearless leader, Belinda Queen mentioned about EV charging. And I want her to know that we're gonna have a whole EV 101 conversation on March 13th at 7 p.m. and we can have a nice conversation about electric vehicle charging and pre-charging, public charging, the cost of charging, how long it charges, all that good stuff on March 13th at 7 o'clock. So I want to let's give a virtual hand clap to our speakers. Did I get everyone? Korey, I got everyone right? Yep. All right. Okay, good. Let's give a virtual hand clap to our speakers. I did see someone say that you all were very inspiring. I definitely agree. Hosea almost had me crying up here. I was able to maintain my composure as well. A lot of times we don't know what people have had to do to get to where they've gotten. I don't really talk about it as well. My father was in jail when I was born, and he died by the time I was 21 and really wasn't around. And my mother was on public assistance much of my life. And then when she was working, she was part of the working poor and was qualified for every anti-poverty program imaginable. So, it's been a long struggle, and I'm very thankful of the journey. And so I want to thank you all for sharing your story. And you never know what seed that you are watering for someone else that is in the industry, that's thinking about going into the industry, or that may be in a crossroads in their life, and you give them that oomph to continue onwards and upwards. And I want to thank our team at our office that helped put this together. I want to thank each of you for that have attended this event, and our wonderful dynamic speakers. Any of you can go onto our social media platforms of LinkedIn, Facebook, and I believe Twitter and YouTube, and you can actually share this and rewatch it as well. Without further ado, if you're not a member, join today. God bless you. Thank you for your time, and happy Black History Month.
Bye all.
Thanks.